Hi, everybody.
Good
Welcome to
morning.
the show.
I'm Greg from America.
And I'm Salvia from South Shields in the United Kingdom. And we're here to
Very
talk
good.
to you about all of the things that are associated with AI and everything that you need to know for this week.
Yep, that's all.
Mhm.
um,
Greg's got a smorgasbord of topics that he chooses from, and
we
then we're
have a
going to talk
lot.
about them.
Yeah. So actually, um, this weekend something interesting happened. It's just at the tip of the iceberg right now, and it
Hmm.
it it isn't. Well, it is and it isn't. It doesn't look like it's specifically AI related, but it's
Okay.
the in France, right? The Telegram, the gentleman who created Telegram, which is just another is a chat like service,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah. I've
Like
heard about
that.
Telegram. I have
Um,
it, actually.
yeah. Well,
Hmm.
what is interesting about Telegram is that it was encrypted, right? Your messages are
Okay.
encrypted between you and the recipient. Sounds interesting,
Okay.
which was a big hit. Well, the guy landed in France, and then France arrested him. I think it was Saturday
Why?
morning. Yeah, because now the warrant, nothing more official than hearsay right now. But there's nothing been, no, because it was
Yeah.
Saturday, right? Um, they think, or the scuttlebutt now is that they're arresting Telegram because the platform was used by terrorists to convey and plan operations. All right, now that I'm being really
Oh,
broad.
wow.
I'm being really broad, and I
Yeah.
don't know if that's the specifics of the warrant,
Yeah.
but that was the last thing I saw was yeah, the warrant had something to do with that kind of stuff, like
Yeah.
drug trafficking, money laundering, etc. Now, this is France or the UK
Yeah.
or across the pond. Over, this bumps right up against freedom of speech, as far as I can see it. Right now,
Obviously, that's a huge one.
yeah. But again, it's fallen in line. I mean, what happened to the UK over the last 3 or 4 weeks, I guess, months, right? When they
Yeah.
judges were putting people now again, these are just the headlines, right? There's always a
Yeah.
sub story below it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So right now, Telegram guy is arrested, and it looks like they're arresting him because the platform he invented was being used by bad people. The UK threw people in jail because what it looks like is that they were actually trying to foment violence using online or whatever digital things. So I mean, there's
Oh,
touch and go there.
wow.
Yeah. Um, Interesting thing. There's something, kind of an aside. If you were to ask somebody how many people in Russia were arrested for saying bad things on social media, the numbers in the 30s, 40s, 50s, in that
Yeah.
range. If you ask the same question in the UK, it's up in the thousands, like
Oh,
3,000 people,
wow.
which is
Okay.
just stunning to me. So
Yeah.
as I watch this, I want to get your reflections on it. But I think about this came up when the internet was starting to come in, right? And
Yeah.
the ISPs, and what the example was, okay,
Yeah.
if someone plans to say 9/11, right?
Yeah.
And they use their cell phones at the time to
Yeah.
communicate back and forth,
Yeah.
can we put Verizon in jail?
I mean, technically speaking, that should be the case, right?
Well, but not really. It was lined up that these utilities are just platforms. You can't, they don't
I
monitor what
completely
is
agree
being
with you. I
said.
completely agree with you.
Right. So the thing
Hmm.
that you know, um, Telegram should probably, the argument in America would be, it's just a platform. I'm not going to control what is said on the
Yeah.
platform. And, that's what we're saying. That's what we're seeing with Twitter and all these other,
Yeah.
people are trying, well, you can't say that. Well, in a very strict manner, by you saying you can't say that, you are violating freedom of speech.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that
Yeah.
violence
I
and
say
all
that
that stuff.
all the time. I say that all the time. I'm
So
like, freedom of speech comes with a price.
yeah, it really does. So what I mean, that's Telegram, and I mean it is developing. I think I've only seen 3 or 4 articles out there since
Hmm.
Saturday.
Yeah.
But how does that hit you? I mean, what do you think about that? And I really like your perspective because you are on the other side of the pond. What's
Well, for me, I mean, I'm obviously a capitalist, you know. So for me,
Mhm.
I want the organization to be protected from stuff like this because otherwise it becomes more and more difficult for organizations to go out and do the job that they need to do. You know,
Right.
I'm sure that if this happens to Telegram, it's going to happen to WhatsApp. Will be the next one down the line. I mean, it's just a it's just a matter of time before policies start subsuming organizations, and I think that would be a very, very negative thing.
Yeah, and I think you and I had a conversation months ago about how the
Mhm.
U.S. has to take some sort of role, a leadership role. And again, I don't,
Yeah,
I'm not, I'm not. This isn't a pro. It is, but it isn't meant to be like rah rah USA. But our systems is different than everyone else's. Period. And
it is.
we're
It
the
is.
only one that's as.
But my concern
Mhm.
is this, Greg, that so AI has come now, and we're you and I started talking when AI was very new, and nobody really knew what was going to happen with it. But now, 18 months later, more than 18 months later, it
Mhm.
is basically in the background everywhere. I mean, it's here. There's no doubts about that. And so having regulation for this was one of the most important things, because now you're going to have those, like, for every telegram that exists that gets think that now AI can help create like thousands more
Mm.
within minutes.
Ooh. Yeah, that's true. Right, right,
And
right. So,
so
wow.
you've got this AI, what's happening with AI, and what the media is still slow to really understand what's going on here. I can't even believe that they are as slow as what they are.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting to bring up one more thing that so you kind of swerved into it. The EU's AI Act,
Yeah,
right? That I thought was premature because it was,
yeah,
golly, it seems like just months after the LLM started to get popular
yeah,
that the bill or whatever the regulation was
yeah,
passed. It's huge, right? I mean, it would take a
yeah,
month to read through it. Okay, maybe
yeah,
not
yeah,
a
yeah,
month, but you know what I mean. It's the same thing over
yeah.
here. Um, are you hearing how's that playing out over there in the EU? Any reflections at all on your
There's
side?
there's nothing. England is holding out still.
That's right. I
To,
forget. I forget
yeah,
the UK. Well, good for you guys.
yeah.
Yeah.
So England is holding out still. So they're keeping their pro innovation stance for AI. So
Hmm.
that's good. So I'm still happy there. But the rest of the EU is not. The rest of the EU has severely, like, they've tied their arms behind their backs with this
So
legislation.
that's too bad. Yeah. So anyway, the Telegram thing is interesting and will develop here in the next 72 hours, I'm sure.
Yeah,
There's another thing that came out late last week from Amazon, right? Everyone knows
yeah,
Amazon. And now and this is what I've been noticing, the bigger companies, because you hear the scuttlebutt of how AI doesn't have an ROI, there's no case studies. That's for
yeah,
small and medium-sized businesses right
yeah,
now. Meanwhile, you just said it, it's seeping into everything,
yeah,
everything. All right. So no matter where you are, from your toothbrush to your manufacturing line, there's going to be some sort of
yeah.
intelligence embedded there. So Amazon had I believe, their earnings call last week, and in that are just huge tidbits of information on AI.
Mhm.
But one thing the CIO said, that their AI implementation replaced 4,500 weeks of developer
Wow.
labor, of developer labor.
Wow.
Not
Wow.
not going to,
Yeah.
has
Yeah.
already.
Yeah.
And I looked at it, I go, I have 4,500 hours, 4,500 day. No, 4,500 developer years.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, it's too big to even contemplate that. I don't think many people are. It's like,
Yeah.
that's pretty
Yeah.
big.
I was just listening to a podcast where they were talking about the fact that, like, um and they were talking about a ridiculous times frame where AI is going to take over. The amount of content that's written on the internet is going to be so much more AI generated. Right now, I think they said they had like 300 million of articles that have been generated by AI already, and
Easily. Yeah.
that's just gonna increase. And so most of the internet is going to be AI generated content.
Yeah, that's going to happen. That's interesting. I see that all the time. But right now, if you're a writer or maybe even a heavy reader, you can tell the difference right now.
Yeah, yeah,
Right
you
now,
can.
there's empty articles out there left and right. At the very least, you can look at the author. If there is no
Yeah,
byline, then it's probably AI. If it's a
yeah,
single name, like, it's like, who's that? You can't find LinkedIn profile for that writer, then it's probably AI. But of course,
Yeah.
this is temporary, right?
Yeah.
They're going to get smarter. They're going to start using words like "in the realm" and
Yeah.
there are keywords that LLMs are all using, in theory. Then it goes back to what we said before: is like human generated content is going to be even more valuable
No, but
because
they were saying this guy was talking about he had generated an article for he was writing a review for an article that he had for somebody. He was writing a review for something,
Mhm.
and he wrote that review using AI. And he said that he just basically spoke in the first paragraph, and then AI did the rest of it. He had to clean it up a little bit, but then he basically printed it the way that it was. And he said, and it was good. He's like, it was like, for me, I would say that that's a good post.
Okay. Well, then I now see that scenario is the way to do it. You
Mm-hmm.
prompt it into existence, you
Yeah.
edit the results, and then
Yeah.
post what feels good to you as a
Yeah.
writer. Now, I
Yeah.
trust that. There
Yeah.
are tons of firms out there right now that aren't doing that. They build the
That are not doing
algorithm,
that. Yeah.
they scrape the interwebs, they
Yeah.
get the data or the content, real content, and then summarize
Yeah.
in the voice of the AI. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no imagination or no creativity in
Like
that process at
statistics
all.
within itself, right?
Yep.
Statistics is doesn't exist anymore
Oh my
because
gosh.
because you can create your own statistics within seconds now.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that and unscripted. It's lovely that you did. So, moving on to a
Yeah.
different subject,
Yeah.
AI training itself. Okay. It's
Yeah.
now there are 8 things out there called agents, and there are
Yeah.
agents that are, and I am dumbing it down, but there are agents that are little prompt codes,
Yeah.
paragraphs of prompts that manage other agents.
Yeah.
Okay. So the theory here is that I can create a team of,
Hmm.
we're going to call them agents for now, to
Yeah.
handle my accounts payable, to handle
Yeah.
my accounts receivable, the actual functions of taking in invoices and cutting checks. The whole
Yeah.
workflow can be done by these agents, and the agents learn off each other. And that was the
Hmm.
key, because what we were learning is that AI gets to a certain point where it starts to regurgitate, and it's called the doom loop of some sort. But it's
Yeah.
when AI starts to train itself on its own data. It's like making a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy. It
Oh
degrades over
wow.
time.
Okay, got it.
That's a big issue because we're going to run out of data, believe it or
Yeah.
not, to train these AI models.
Yeah.
And one solution was, well, the AIs will create their own data, which is true. But
Yeah.
what we've observed is that once the AI tries to train itself on the data it's created, it degrades in quality. So there's
Okay,
a
got it.
big movement out there on different ways to check that. But that is an issue. Now I'm sure it's going to be handled. And they're talking about, again, we delve into it. AI is pretty much machines. It's not the way our brains work. We go to sleep at
Yeah.
night.
Yeah. Yeah.
The brain is digesting and doing all
Yeah.
sorts of weird things. All right, that
It
the
processes
AI,
information in a million different ways.
yeah,
Yeah.
we've got the conscious and the subconscious.
Yeah.
So we start to get into this whole philosophical, physical, biological,
Yeah.
technical, swirling
Yeah.
whirlpool of stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
100%.
so interesting to watch that right now. And I came across the article maybe 2 weeks ago where the doom loop was brought up as an issue. Oh, this is bad because we're not
Hmm.
going to. But no later than even this morning, someone came up with an idea that will
Hmm.
manage that doom loop, and that's within 7 to 8 days. Now,
Wow.
what really happened in, I'm sure there were months and this, that, and the other stuff, but just to have, okay, this is a huge problem, and okay, this looks like a viable solution to
Yeah.
hit the media, to hit the general public in 8 or 9 days is pretty significant to me. And it's
Yeah.
not pie in the sky. Um, so I keep an eye on that. That's a pretty interesting thing, right?
Yeah.
And I think you'll like this. There's even more, different subject. There's even more evidence coming out about healthcare, um, depression,
Yeah.
being therapy being
Yeah.
addressed with the Chat GPT and
Yeah.
LLM.
Totally.
And I keep going back to what we discussed 8 months ago. I mean, people are starting to discover this. And I tell you what tells me that is that people, psychologists and academics are now flashing the warning out that people will be addicted to AI,
Yeah.
which
Yeah. 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 Oh, I read something about that too. I read something about the fact that it's and they want to look at the markers for social media and see how that worked out so that they could make sure that people can't get addicted to AI. I don't know how they're going to fix that. They haven't fixed the social media problem. The social media problem is the biggest problem that we face in the world right now.
Yeah. Well, they haven't fixed any addictions.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
they
No,
can say whatever
you're
you
right.
want about whatever addiction.
You're right.
In 12-step programs, doesn't matter. Doesn't
You're
matter.
absolutely correct.
So I don't know where that's going to go. But what I find interesting is that we are now talking about it. So it's
Yeah.
an issue. It is, when it isn't the negative issue, it's the cause of those negative issues is a real thing now.
Yeah.
Right. So it's
Yeah.
not a pie in the sky. It's not futuristic. It's a real thing. So there must be something wrong with it, kind of thing.
I agree.
I also ran into something very interesting, an article about how this gentleman, again, I'm not going to, I got his name right here. What is his name? Stephen Wolfram.
Okay.
Wolfram. Okay.
Okay.
I've read his stuff before. He's an AGI guy. Again,
Okay.
academic,
Yeah.
no real world app, but
Yeah.
got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
His latest article or piece is injecting philosophy into AI development. Now,
Okay.
we've talked about Socrates and
Yeah.
Plato, and the Socratic method of building prompts is the best method. Again, it teaches people how to think critically and all that.
Yeah.
Our current inability for people to think critically makes us
Yeah.
believe anything we see because we don't question
Yeah.
it. Well, this gentleman was saying it is time to inject Socrates in there,
Yeah.
Plato, and to actually have those models incorporated into the AI algorithms.
So when I first was out there having conversations with people about I had gone and talked to a professor at a university, and he was in charge of putting their AI summit together. And that's what he had talked about too. He's like, the most important thing is to get a Socratic AI in place so that it can look over what's going on within the AI space. And I cannot agree with that more. I mean, that the Socratic method and the scientific method, and I will always say are our two best developments as humanity. I really do believe that. I believe that they what they've opened up and what they've been able to accomplish because of those two methods is groundbreaking. And so using both of those methods and putting those in the forefront somehow in I think that's going to save humanity because otherwise we're looking at this diluted mess that you're talking about.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, there's it is a diluted mess. It's chaos. It's
Yeah.
turbulence.
Yeah.
Boy, I'm still on the edge of thinking, yeah, so what? It's a mess, and swim in the mess. I'm at that point right now. I don't know
I
where
think
this
we all feel that way,
structures.
Greg. I think we all feel that way. Like we got involved in this AI movement because we knew how significant and what it was going to do to the world. And now that we're in it, we're actually in this, we're in water above our heads. And nobody seems to know what to do. We've got these stupid rulings or whatever from the EU, to just like people just throwing stuff out there and seeing what will stick to a wall
Mm.
and really not understanding that like our worlds are about to change forever. Like really. I mean, the iPhone is going to come out on September 20th
Mm-hmm.
and it's
Mm.
going to introduce AI to an entire new audience that hasn't had exposure to it. And once that audience gets a handle of AI, I mean, things are gonna heat up
Boy,
very
I'm
quickly.
I'm glad you met. I don't know that much about the Apple product, and I've been on purposely not looking. I started to
Yeah,
look a little bit, because you bring up Apple. I think that Apple has the potential to seriously hit the ball out of the park.
yeah.
Because I don't know if they will. I'm just
I don't know
saying
if they will either.
because they'll hopefully look at this whole thing differently. This is the classic
Yeah,
Windows versus Apple
yeah,
mentality. Microsoft versus Apple. We're looking
Yeah.
at AI through Microsoft eyes right now. I don't care what anyone says. It's a Google, it's a search, it's a
Yeah.
process. There's programming, there's
Yeah.
applications. That's all MS world.
Yeah.
Apple took it and said, no, it start from the user experience and go from there.
Yeah.
And I think what they just, when they released something not that long ago, 4 or 5 months ago, and it was just a little tidbit of something, maybe it was their latest update, right?
Yeah.
And they had stuff in there that was AI. They weren't pitching it hard as AI, but
Yeah.
what it did, and it went without many people noticing, is it wiped out a bunch of apps off the app phone or the app store because
Yeah.
it incorporated it naturally within the operating system. And I don't remember the specifics of each application, but there was a functionality that you would had to have gone and gotten an app to achieve on
Yeah.
the phone. Well, now that's embedded into the operating system and it's
So that's
AI.
what the most exciting thing is about it.
Yeah.
Is about it's going to be seeing what that model looks like. I mean, that is a very exciting um, innovation to me, and I can't even imagine it. Like, so for me, I'm excited to see something that I can't clearly imagine.
Yeah, which is great. And
Yeah.
that's what Apple's always done. And
Hmm.
that's just I kind of hope it does go. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no doubt in the world that the MS realm with Google, Microsoft, and the big, I'll call them the DOS-based systems, are going to prevail, and they're just too big to fail. There may
Yeah.
be some shakeout, um, but Apple can still hit, I don't know, a significant amount, and who knows
Yeah.
what this is going. Another thing I like is that they call it Apple Intelligence, with the abbreviation is AI. It's like, oh wow, that's weird how that
Yeah.
worked, but yeah. So
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
I forgot about that. That's going to be very
Yeah.
interesting. I don't know if you've been using Chat GPT with the voice.
Yeah. I have.
Holy moly!
Yeah.
I did a whole conversation in Italian,
Oh
li-
wow.
almost in real time,
Oh
because
wow.
she's talking in Italian, and all of a sudden, you know, the chat catches up and starts speaking in English, and
Yeah.
and I could do it back and forth. But that's to what, 18 months?
Yeah.
Not about it.
18 months. Yeah.
It's gonna. I mean, it's gonna wake up one day and it's gonna be super duper live,
Yeah.
conversational, instant
Yeah.
translation. So,
Yeah. I mean, that's what
so
we're waiting for, right? We're waiting for those tools that are going to
yep,
have all of that superpower. And so you're going to wake up in the morning and you're going to have your Echo or your Dot or whatever or your Alexa. And that's really all you're going to need.
that's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. In any language, in every language.
Yeah.
Oh, we've only got 6 minutes left, and I wanted to talk. So I'm going to put this on to the docket for Friday. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have
Okay.
another. We're going to do 2 sessions, Mondays and Fridays, 11
Yeah.
o'clock Eastern time, 30 minutes. Little
Give
tidbits.
you guys a good dose of Greg and Salvia twice a week.
Twice a week. What I want us to think of, and I hope I remember,
Yeah.
Friday, the Shroud of Turin.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you know what that is, or supposedly?
No, I don't. What is it?
I'll be real brief. The Shroud
Okay.
of Turin is a shroud, a piece of cloth that
Yeah.
has imprinted on it an image of a man.
Okay.
Right? It looks like a film negative.
Okay.
Now, for hundreds of years, people have said that that's the picture of Christ. This is what Christ was wrapped in, and somehow, some way, this image was like a negative was transferred to this shroud, right? The Shroud of Turin. It's been interned. Now, in 1988, they did a carbon dating of it, all right?
Yeah.
And the church has been very, they've held this close to the chest. They don't let people take samples and things like that. Well, the sampling in 1988 carbon dated it to around 1300. Right?
Okay. Got it.
So immediately it was taken to be not a fraud, but not what everyone thought it was.
Yeah.
Of course, we decided no one dug into how the heck did an image like this get transposed onto a cloth from the 1300s. No one's like even talking like that.
Yeah.
And another thing is, if it was shroud over a human being of 3-dimensional,
Yeah.
and then if any images get projected, it gets projected in 2 dimensions.
Yeah.
But when you look at the shroud, the projection, it's a 3-dimensional. So there's all sorts of goofy, crazy things. Well, anyway, last week there's a new way to date. All right, they take scattered X-ray. They look at the cellulose, which is just sugar, because the linen was made out of a natural fiber of some sort, whatever it is. And you can tell by the way the X-rays integrate with the existing cellulose how long ago the actual thing was made. Right. Effectively, all right, well, let's see what this says. It's going to probably be around 1300. No, 79 AD.
Oh,
So
wow.
now everything is thrown off.
Wow.
That's one. Okay, that's cool. But then the other thing is that someone obviously took the
Mhm.
image, threw it at, I don't know, one of the AI image generators.
Yeah.
Now there's a picture of, I'm just gonna say it, Christ. Okay,
Yeah.
but what I haven't heard anyone do yet is train, and I'm sure it's out there, an LLM on every version of the Bible, on
Yeah.
every single archived information about
Yeah.
Christ, fed it in, and now you've got AI Jesus.
Yeah.
So
100%.
instead of talking to the priest, instead of talking to the cardinal or
Yeah.
whomever on the Christianity side,
Yeah.
you can just query AI Jesus.
That would be amazing. I think that that would be so liberating for religion,
It's interesting. So yeah, that
because I think that people religion is basically shut down by different people's opinions and the scholars and all of the things that go on with it. And I think that there does need to be something that simplifies religion
yeah.
and makes it easy for people to understand.
Well, and I'll leave you with this. Is one of my postulates is that AI
Mhm.
eliminates the middleman in every
Yeah.
process. So
Yeah.
when you look at faith,
Yeah.
religion is the middleman
Yeah.
between you and your faith. All right.
Yeah.
So connect the dots from there. Anyway,
Yeah.
so anyway, I would like to maybe discuss that a little more in depth on Friday. Maybe not. There
Okay.
probably will be
Sounds
hundreds of
good.
things that come up. But yeah, all right, cool. Then
I'm looking forward to it.
it's gonna be great. So that's
Yeah.
a quick little tidbit for everyone. Um, like I said, hit us up on LinkedIn if you want to get in a bigger discussion, or just follow us as we progress on this. We're making this up as we go.
Yes, we are. And we're trying our best to keep this movement alive,
Yeah.
because it is very, very necessary for us to understand that AI is changing our world. And even though we're not seeing it firsthand right now in the background, there are so many things happening that are just, mind boggling, that this is the kind of technology that's out there right now. So stay tuned, stay with us. We'll give you as much information as we can get our hands onto, and make sure that you are AI aware.
AI aware. All right,
Yeah.
everyone. Have a good week.
Take
See ya.
care.
Bye bye.
Bye.